with the labor market. So today we're going into labor mobility. So when I talk about labor mobility, we're simply talking about the flexibility of labor, being able to switch job or switch location. That is what labor mobility is. Labor, what is labor itself? Labor is the physical effort, the physical or mental effort of human that helps in the production of goods and services. That is labor. And the reward for labor is simply the wages or salary that they get. So now let's go into the labor market. We said the labor market is where the demand for and supply of labor interacts. That is the labor market. We talked about the demand for labor, which is the numbers of workers firms are willing to employ at a given wage rate. Then the supply of labor, which we talked about in the previous class, which is simply the numbers of workers making themselves available for job. That is done. So for labor mobility, like I just said, it's simply talking about the flexibility that involves labor to move from one location to another, or to switch from one job to another. So we have two types of labor mobility. We have geographical labor mobility and we have occupational labor mobility. So let's start with geographical mobility of labor. For geographical mobility of labor, it's simply talking about the movement of workers or individuals from one country to another, or from one location or from one area to another. For example, I'm moving from Nigeria to Libya to work. That is geographical mobility of labor. Do we understand geographical mobility of labor?
Yes.
Do we understand this?
Yes.
Then we have occupational mobility of labor. For occupational mobility of labor, we're talking about the ability of an individual to switch from one job to another. Before now, I was a banker, now I'm a teacher. So that is what we call occupational mobility of labor. Do we understand it?
Yes.
The ability or the flexibility of workers to be able to switch from one job to another. Before now, I was a banker, then now I'm a teacher. That is occupational mobility of labor. For geographical, I moved from Nigeria to Libya. That's geographical mobility of labor. I think both of them are clear.
Yes.
Good. So that takes us to wage determination. Remember how I said the reward for labor is wages or salary? Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. So how is wage determined in the market? Wage is determined when there is demand for and supply of labor. So here I wrote wage determination. The wage is determined by the demand for and the supply of. So demand for is the numbers of firms that are making themselves available to, that are willing to employ workers. That is demand for. And supply of, we that are looking for jobs. So there's always going to be a point of contact in the market, in the labor market. This is where we determine the wage rate. Get the point here. There's demand for and supply of. There's always going to be a point of contact where the demand for and the supply of equals. That determines the wage rate. Did you get the point here? So that's why we have the equilibrium wage rate at this point. There's supply of labor, and there's demand for labor. Remember, demand for labor is always downward slope. Why is it downward slope? It's downward slope because the lower the wage rate, the higher the numbers of employees firms will be willing to employ. And the supply of labor is upward slope. Why is it upward slope? It's upward slope because the higher the wage rate, the higher the numbers of workers willing to work, making themselves available for job. Do you understand the difference there? Yes. It is downward slope because if the wage rate reduces, firms will be willing to employ more workers. It is upward slope for supply of labor because if the wage rate increases, workers will be making themselves available for job. That is the difference between SL and DL. Is it clear? Yes. So we have the equilibrium wage rate, which is represented as this. So where the demand for and supply of meets is called the equilibrium wage rate. So this determines the amount of money paid to workers, the reward of workers at any labor market. You know, the labor market is there, where we have the supply and the demand for. So to determine what they get in terms of what firms or employers will be paying to employees, it is where they meet that determines that. Do we understand?
Yes.
Any questions about that? No. So that takes us to the importance of the quantity and quality of labor to the business. The business itself would need workers, yes or no? Yes. So because workers are part of the factors of production: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. So when we talk about workers, we're talking about the labor. So as soon as the business is setting up, it is important for the business to set up in a location where there are not high numbers of workers. That is about quantity. That's about quantity. High numbers of workers. And then the value the workers are going to give to the organization or to the business. So the first thing is, when you are locating your business, you locate in a place or in an area where you have large supply of workers. Why is it important to locate in an area where you have large supply of workers? It is important because when you locate in an area where there's a high supply of labor, it means the wage rate will be less. Because the higher the supply of labor, the lower the wage rate. If a lot of people are making themselves available for a job, that means firms can easily pay less for any of them.
But doesn't the government decide wages?
Government?
Yeah.
No, that is minimum wage. Government determines the minimum wage, not the wage in the market. Do you understand? There's minimum wage, which is the amount of money, the least you could pay to the lowest rank officer in an economy. That is government policy. So here we're talking about the free market. The free market, which is the private sector. Private sector. Do you get the point here?
Basically, give us an example for quantity.
Quantity. Like the numbers of teachers available. So this school is here because it feels that there are large numbers of teachers available in this area. If there are not large numbers of teachers available, and if the supply of teachers are less, it means the school has to pay more to get teachers from abroad or from anywhere far from this location. So if you are setting up in a location that there's high, can you just stop that already, please? You're supposed to focus. If you are setting your business in a location where there's large supply of workers, it means the wage rate will fall. You will be able to negotiate with your employees, with the potential employees, because a lot of people need job, but you're going to give to few. So any amount you are offering them, they will take it because there are large numbers of people looking for job. So that's about quantity. Do we understand quantity?
Yes.
Now, with quantity, if you are locating in an area where the supply of labor is increasing, it means the amount of money you pay to workers will reduce. That reduces your cost of production. So the quantity must ensure that you are able to reduce your cost of production. Do you understand the first point there? Now, the quality. For quality, we're talking about employing workers that meet with the skills required for the job. That is human capital. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Quantity is about the numbers. Quality is about them meeting up with the skills needed to do that job. So if you are able to locate in an area where the human capital is high, it means you'll be competitive. So quantity talks about how you are able to reduce your cost of wages, and that's quantity. And quality talks about how you can become competitive against your competitors. Just imagine if this school is able to locate in an area where there's high human capital, where there are quality teachers. It means the school will be very good and it will be able to compete with the rest of the schools. Do we understand the difference between quality and quantity here?
Yes.
Quantity reduces the amount paid to workers, the cost of wages, and quality increases your competitiveness. Is it clear?
Yes.
So the last thing about the labor market is the importance of education and training to labor force. So when we talk about education and training, can you just sit down properly, please? When we talk about education and training, education will improve your knowledge and skills. Education and training will improve the knowledge and skills of workers. And if workers become knowledgeable and more skilled, they become more employable. Do you get the point I'm making here? With education and skills, through training, workers become equipped and well employable. They become employable. So because I have the skills needed and I have the knowledge, it will motivate me to want to seek for employment. Do you get it or not?
Yes.
Education improves our skills, training improves our knowledge, our know-how. So if now I am equipped as a teacher, then it gives me the incentive to look for jobs. So if with education and training, if the workforce in an economy becomes more educated, the supply of labor would increase. And that even makes it easier for workers to even get more pay because they are now skilled. Do you understand the importance of education now?
Yes.
Education improves the skills and knowledge of people. They become more employable. And because they become more employable, their wage rate is likely to increase. That ends the labor market. Any question about it? Thank you.